You're in the middle of a dungeon. Your rogue is unconscious on the floor. The druid is desperately trying to hold the monsters back, but they just keep on coming. You are all that stands between victory and a TPK. It's time to go Nova. Are you going to spend a lot of resources now to get out alive? Or are you gonna hold back and hope the dice are kind? That right there is the caster's classic dilemma. How do you know when to use your best resources? And how do you spend just enough to win without leaving yourself helpless in the next fight?
Easy, you show those monsters who's boss. Kaboom! Fireball solves all problems.
I know I said blasting is underrated before Gator, but there's more to it than just nuking the battlefield. Let's talk about how to measure the danger and decide if going Nova is a smart move or not.
No! Kobold and Gator dice first! We're still live right now!
Oh, we're rolling that out immediately then.
There's little gators and kobolds in the dice. They want to adventure and roll around. The gators will bite your enemies, while the kobolds will give you pack tactics.
That gives you advantage on all of your attacks, and with the most powerful bite in the world from an apex predator, that will bridge the martial caster divide.
Yay! We make D&D balanced.
As we're recording this, we're 200 Canadian bucks away from reaching the Gator adventure.
We're so close.
It's about saving a gator princess, the most beautiful gator in all the land. It's inspired by a real-life fire where gators got stolen from a zoo.
This is a regular alligator, by the way, which makes it more fun.
When saving her, you better have speak with animals, because she bites. Anyways, check out our Kickstarter. If you really like our content, this is a great way to support us, and in the process, you get little adventurers in the mail. Link in the description. Back to the video. At regular tables, people usually think Nova means dumping all your highest level spell slots into a single combat, blasting until there's nothing left. Think Sorcerer empowering 3 5th level fireballs in a row, or a classic example is Paladin spamming Smite. That is indeed a form of Nova, but it's not the only one, and it's not always the most effective. In reality, going Nova is about resource efficiency under pressure. It's not just damage. It's choosing to spend limited powerful tools in order to save other resources, like your hit points, spell slots, or even avoiding losing a friend outright.
Huh? You're telling me not dying is a resource?
Yeah, hit points are your most valuable resource in the game. Let's look at 2 quick examples. Upcasting Mind Whip on 3 high damage melee enemies can prevent them from getting in range and then do damage. That saves your party from a ton of incoming damage. The other example is dropping Plant Growth in the right terrain can buy you multiple rounds of breathing room, which is sometimes more valuable than another 8d6 fire damage. So yeah, Nova can be blasting, but it can also be healing, disabling, reshaping the battlefield. It can be very broad. Of course, many D&D games aren't hard enough to require this kind of thinking. And that's fine. If your table's vibe is every fight is a fireworks show, then go full on Michael Bay. That's fun. But if you play in a hard game where optimization matters, Nova is more than just blowing everything up. Resource management is the art of spending your limited tools, spell slots, hit dice, class features, consumables, and so on, in a way that maximizes value across an adventuring day. Going Nova, then, is the deliberate choice to overspend now to be able to overspend later. For example, using a 3rd level spell slot on Hypnotic Pattern to end the fight in 1 round saves everyone's HP, saves your allies' spell slots, and lets you walk away with more resources overall. Here's the catch. Many of the best spells require concentration. That makes your concentration slot a bottleneck. You can't have Hypnotic Pattern and Web going at the same time, so you need to find another way to impact the fight. That can be like Binding Ice. That combos super well with most concentration spells. Anyways, how to tell when you need to go Nova. The most important skill is decision making. You have to be able to properly consider whether you will lose more by holding back than you will by spending big. That means you have to have a good grasp of these concepts. 1. Threat assessment. Can you gauge how dangerous this fight really is? That means you have to be able to get a feel how powerful powerful these enemies you're up against really are. DMs describing the scenes usually give you the clue. And also consider the stakes of the combat. Don't get too comfortable with fights. You should be a little bit paranoid. Counter to popular beliefs, it's okay to rely on meta knowledge. It's completely reasonable to assume that successful and talented adventurers in the fantasy world know about the threats that are out there. They might not know the specifics, but one thing's for sure, everything's out there to kill you. Even commoners know this. You should be paranoid in some way. You're risking your life. You're going into dangerous dungeons and fighting dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons!
Heck yeah! Number 2, target prioritization. Once you know the fight is dangerous, you have to identify the biggest problem within this fight. A single mind flare can end your party faster than a dozen giant rats. So Nova should be aimed where it matters the most. Once you've properly handled the threat, that's when you can throw Fireball and kill the rats. Number 3, ally evaluation. You also need to track your party's impact. Sometimes you need to make sure one of your allies can freely do what they need to do to swing the fight in the party's favor. Even with a good build, you can't do everything and solo everything. Your party is more important than your build. If the ranger gets petrified, then you lose a lot of at-will single target DPR that you yourself can't muster. And that can be vital in defeating an important enemy. It might be worth casting Greater Restoration on him to get him back in the fight. Similarly, if your wizard goes down, it might be worth it to immediately dump all your lay on hands points to get the wizard back up again so they can concentrate on an important high-level control spell again. Maybe a super high-level spell that you can't cast. Number 4, opinion weighing. You need to know what tools you can use and which are actually effective. Sometimes your most effective Nova option isn't ideal, but if the alternative is losing even more resources later, you still have to pull the trigger. An example is Grease won't work on shadows, so you need to go for an alternative. Maybe Shatter's the best move to make, even though incorporeal undead are resistant to elemental damage. It might be necessary to prevent your party from having their strength reduced to 0. The AoE damage is always going to do something, even like half damage. And even though you're not doing a lot of damage, you're still doing damage, and they're getting closer and closer to death. And finally, number 5, effectiveness estimation. Can your Nova actually swing the entire fight in your favor now? If your best option won't solve the problem, maybe it's better to hold back and let your friends deal with it. You need to communicate with them and share strategies. That's what experienced adventurers do after all. There's synergy. Still, when the alternative is a potential TPK, then you have to do what's necessary to solve the combat. Even though your most effective Nova option isn't particularly effective in this current circumstance. If the trade-off favors burning resources, then don't hesitate. Go full-on Nova. I made a little list for excellent spells for Nova play, just so you get an idea of what to look for. Command. 1 word can steal an enemy's turn. I made a video about it. Crazy good spell. Rhymes Binding Ice. AoE lockdown and does damage. I also made a video about that too. Mind Whip. Does damage while cutting enemy actions. Fireball. You already know Fireball. Plant Growth, stacks with difficult terrain. Very powerful with concentration spells like Web and Spike Growth. Hypnotic Static, solid debuff plus AoE damage. And Transmute Rock, also stacks with difficult terrain. I really need to make a video about that. Anyways, that was my list. All of these spells can deny the enemy the chance to cost you more than you spend. And of course we gotta talk about the Warlocks. Warlocks basically live in Nova Land. They can dump all their slots in one fight, and at higher levels, those are 3 or 4 5th level spell slots. After a fight, the party can just take a short rest to recover all the Warlock spell slots, which is amazing. They're so powerful. They're so easy to get back. When little naps are very common, Warlocks are able to efficiently contribute with high Nova potential, even in high optimization games.
So Warlocks are like rechargeable hand grenades.
Exactly. They pull the pin, explode load, take a nap for an hour, and repeat. So that's the Nova video in a nutshell. It's not just raw damage, but smart, intentional resource spending to prevent bigger losses down the line. If you master this, you'll find yourself not only surviving desperate situations, but you'll also thrive in them. End of video. Check out the Kobold and Gator dice. We're so close to the Gator adventure.
200 Canadian bucks. Come on. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.